Today, we will learn to use specific processes in your genealogy life so we can work smarter, not harder. I'm your trainer, Lori Coffey. I have spent a career training people on processes to improve their business work results. You can find 1,244 videos on genealogy research methods alone at Roots Tech alone. As well, we are not limited in the processes we will cover today to genealogical. You can find those anywhere. As expert artists say, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Today, you will hear lots of processes to borrow from and a few worthy to steal. Before we look at what a process is, let's learn where the definition comes from. Our first IT development methodology we can steal ideas from is ITIL, the Information Technology Infrastructure Library. ITIL was developed by the British government so that all computer businesses would speak the same language when talking to clients. It's essentially a library of processes for each of the steps in software development and deployment. What it is not as important as what it teaches us about processes. ITIL's definition of a process is a structured set of activities designed to accomplish a specific objective. A process takes one or more defined inputs like sugar, eggs, and flour, and turns them into defined outputs like a cake. It's like a recipe. ITIL goes on to say there are 4 parts to any process. Part 1 is input, or the trigger to cause you to do something, like someone's birthday is coming. Part 2 are the metrics or measurement to know the status quo, like how many people do we need to build a cake for? Part 3 is understanding the stakeholders who care about the process or results, like what is the birthday boy's favorite cake? Part 4 is the output, or what will happen as a result of the process, the perfect cake for the event. Throughout any process, use controls to ensure the recipe is followed so you can count on the results. Have you ever been to dinner at someone's house who doesn't follow the recipe? Not fun. So that's what a process is. Let's look at genealogical processes. We'll start with those closest to our family tree hearts, but perhaps from a unique point of view, anthropology. To an anthropologist, genealogy uses the research method called kinship and social organization process. They explain that part 1 of the process, the input trigger, is an inspiration. You're inspired to research your family history because of a question like these general questions. Where do I and my family fit in the larger historical picture? How can I preserve the past for future generations? What family stories are real? You or your clients may have different and more specific questions like, are there any heroes in my family? Are we related to Al Capone? That's what I've been asked by people when I'm doing their genealogy. Whatever you call it, start with an inspiration, a question, or a goal. For part 2, metrics, genealogists draw on oral traditions, which we call interviews with grandpa, historical records like vitals and census, plus genetic analysis to obtain information about a family and its members. The stakeholders for the genealogical method could be the family or the entire ethnic group, since the process suggests tracing the history of an ethnic group with focus on questions like, from where did they migrate? What is their family history? How can their family tree be constructed to demonstrate kinship and pedigree lineage or breeding? Don't you love that one? I don't know if it's Chinese or Japanese, but I think it's pretty cool. The output results are often written as narratives like Ann and Toffel or family reports, or charts like pedigree charts or family group sheets, shaped by several inspirations or questions. Nevertheless, they say, the kinship and social organization process has drawbacks, especially extensive interviewing of individuals to collect statistics and recording their pedigrees with evidence that proves an ancestor is a real person and not a mythological or legendary figure. We call that documentary proof or evidence. We just showed you our first process, the kinship and social organization process. My job is to introduce you to a variety of processes. Just touch on them. Go to YouTube for more information on each of these. But your job is to review them and decide which ones you will use and which parts. It's kind of like watching a cooking video. If you tried to mimic what they did, you probably wouldn't have the same results. Yet if you watched the video of the process and then had the recipe for it, you'd be far more successful, even feeling confident to tweak or adjust the recipe based on your taste or experience. That's what you'll do today as we introduce you to many processes. And then you can turn the parts into a worksheet or 3 for you to use over and over. For example, if you decide to start doing research for others, every time you use your process worksheet, take the time to see if it's still working for you, or if you should tweak the process to improve it. Learn and evolve, just like your DNA does.